I will now take a couple of steps toward how consumers or users will actually experience packaging, and that is actually a bit of a communication problem as well, and then it's interaction thing, building on experience, and it's the same thing with if you have a sustainable packaging material or a sustainable product, you are faced with a communication issue and how things are being understood and perceived and being used in a correct way. So definitely something to think about as well. So meaningful consumption experience have become also increasingly important, both for consumers and businesses in recent years. We are facing with many new phenomena. E-commerce is booming, and many such things that influence how we behave as consumers. And the industry is also reacting to those. So designers are constantly faced with the challenge of how can I incorporate sort of these pre-specified messages or meanings or intended interactions into the packaging, and how can I create such experiences that would somehow support the use of product or extend the brand experience. So being aware of how experiencing happens and how what factors are at play, we can help creating a better and informed design. So, well, what do we know about packaging experience at this point then? Often it's said that it's personal, it's subjective. Yeah, it's happening as a result of perception and sensory interaction. It's spread over time, so there's a flow of experiences and different steps, and it accumulates. So prior experience influence the future experiences. Then it's time specific, it happens in a certain place, and it's context dependent, so it's the context of product or product packaging and the situation we are in. It might be multi-channel, multisensory as well. So it's very holistic in nature. Then we have both hedonic experience and utilitarian experiences. Sort of like pragmatic sides of the user experience. But then again, those hedonic experience related pleasure, those are the ones that are actually getting people excited. So we perhaps should be focusing on those. So if packaging is personal, is there nothing we can do about it? I think we can. If you think about when we meet a product, a packaged product for the first time, it's our perception and the interpretation that builds assumptions about the nature of the object. And this applies both to the assumptions about the content of the package and assumptions about how the package should be physically operated, such as functionality of the package. Also, if it's related to sustainability, it would be the same thing. And for instance, if you think about interaction or assumptions about the openability, will be the ones that precede our attempt to actually work with the packaging. So how we see and perceive things will affect how we understand and can work with the designs. So the visual exposure and interpretation is sort of like a prerequisite for action. And everything starts from how things are perceived. A designer might be thinking about some special moments of interaction, and then can sort of think about the temporal nature of experiencing. The designer can break down the experience into several phases and think about what kind of stimuli should be used and at which point, in order to produce the effect that we want to achieve. We can have an imagined unboxing experience, for instance, that can be a driver for the design process. And this can be a way of engaging users during engaging users also in the design process. That works better than assumptions. So everything that can be perceived as objects out there are also usually somebody who can be designing them and thinking about these things. Experience can be staged or framed in different ways. Context of use can be suggested, when it's supposed to be used, time, place. Different interpretations can be suggested. And then also we can focus on tangible factors. So all these interaction steps can be sort of defined. Multisensory experience is something I will talk a bit about as well. That's actually a very important aspect. It's not just a vision that works here. And we can think about narratives and different experiential themes that can help us to design for experience. Then again, we can think about like, one way to put it is that the absence of pain is not yet pleasure. So if you think about packaging design in previous times where there was a lot of focus on usability issues and fixing those, well, that's sort of the expected thing that consumers have, but it doesn't yet create pleasurable experiences. So we should not focus on what works in terms of how the packaging works with the product itself, but perhaps more that how can we create it as something pleasurable with consumers. So absence of negative experience is not a positive experience as such. Then again, we can think about basic human needs from psychology that can be used as driving satisfying experiences. Pleasure, joy, surprise, those are engaging to emotions and contribute to positive experiences. Then again, we've done some studies with comparing positive hedonic experiences and positive functional or pragmatic experiences. And it turns out that those positive hedonic experiences related to satisfaction and joy and pleasantness, those are the ones that people are really excited about, of course, and they are willing to pay more for such packages. So we could factor those out even in the same samples. Thinking about the experience, we should think about perhaps some kind of chain of action that happens when people encounter packaging. There's also zero moment of truth, and if we think about online shopping, it's a bit different path. But for instance, if we think about the normal supermarket setting, Löfgren talks a lot about first moment of truth. So the packaging connects the consumer and product and brand in a meaningful way in a setting. But first, a consumer has to distinguish the product from a distance, recognizing the category and type. Then you get some kind of first impression about the product and whether you like it or not. You start to interpret meaning and get more engaged with the product. Maybe it gets your interest, and if it's interesting enough, you might even grab it and start to examine it closer. But if it doesn't go through any of those things, then the process doesn't go any further. So it's like a traffic light. You have to go through a lot of different steps. There are much more than these that actually are at play, but these are just a couple to demonstrate. In the second moment of truth is when you are actually the owner of the product, and you start to have interactions also with other senses than vision with the product, and such things as how easy it is to carry, to store, to open and dispose the product, consume, perhaps dispense or recycle. Those are things that are important at that stage. And then also it is one of those things that will affect whether consumer will buy the product again, whether it's a pleasant experience or not. All this can be tackled in and with design. This can be a much more complex map of interactions, and this is just one model. And then again, what is significant here perhaps is that actually this is the part that consumer perceives of the whole value chain of things. But all of these things can be actually points where we can make a difference, both in terms of sustainability, in value, reducing environmental impacts. So we can think of a design as an opportunity to propose change. And by understanding the value chain, designer can create a product and service that actually is desirable and feasible and viable for all these relevant stakeholders. But going back to the previous pictures, this part is related to vision, sales-oriented factors in store, and this part related to usability and usage after being the owner of the product. And if the packaging doesn't work at any of these steps, then the process stops. And you can think about this, there's so many new products being launched and so few of them actually survive that there's actually a lot of wasted resources also in product development. If the packaging doesn't communicate or find its consumer, there's no use. I'll show one of our wonderful student works actually here as an example of how we can think about packaging in many different ways. This one was created as a packaging that was engaging to both kids and parents, and the idea is that it's like a raw cookie that you can create together or make together with your parent. And here you have created like a character for the packaging, something that is inviting, something that is cute, that is definitely something that the kids would enjoy. It has an interaction, it opens cleverly, and actually has a bit like at Christmas time when we have these calendars, you have different sort of windows that you can open at different stages. They have instructions and they have things how to make the thing together and put the thing together. So it's playful, it's inventive, and it sort of focuses on different stages and steps of interacting with the product and creating an emotional connection with the product. So I think it's actually a very clever piece of work. So if you think about people facing more information in the shopping environment than they are capable of handling, the visuality is definitely a key at first, and it's an information shortcut. As all the products are nearly identical, packaging is a tool for distinguishing products from competition, as we know, and it's also often interpreted as a message of the quality and qualities of the design and the product itself. And then again, we know that in a busy environment, packaging might be the only advertisement for the product itself. And then we know also that consumers' taste change, so there's a fierce competition all the time. How can we make the product stand out? How can we make it distinguish? How can we make it recognized in a crowd of other similar products? How can we create meaning in it? How can we use visual storytelling or engaging the senses? Can we utilize something such as affordance, something that invites to touch, something that invites to use in a particular way? Can we use the visuality to cue such actions? And then again, if you think about packaging as being something that is perceived through our all senses, those all are actually relevant. And there's many cases where you have wrong packaging material interacting with the product that might cause, for instance, bad sound or something. That might be a reason enough to change something in the packaging to get the consumer acceptance. So those are not just very small details, actually. Then what we know about multisensory perception is that information from all modalities, of course, influence how we experience things, but Professor Charles Spence, who is working at Oxford Cross-Modal Research Lab, he's talking about the senses working together, and they are not autonomously and working in isolation, but they blend, and somehow these effects are perception of things. So information received from one sense will affect the perception of our object. So for instance, if we see something, that might affect how things taste, and it works for more than few senses. So our perception is multisensory, fundamentally. And then again, we can think of design as a communication process also as a multisensory thing. So we should take that into account. And the brains use heuristic processes and cognitive shortcuts in order to sort of process information. And this is something that we can utilize in the design as well. I will show a few examples now from some of the works that we've done with students in this package course that you might have heard about. It's actually something that is a collaborative course run between different lecturers, and we have actually teachers from 5 different schools working together in providing content. And what really is happening is that we collaborate with industry and university and student teams from different backgrounds. So it's multidisciplinary and international Aalto course at once. Project and problem-based learning is driving it, and we have real cases and real partners. And students play an active and investigative role in the course. So it's very explorative, but then again also there's a process, it's iterative, and we usually have quite nice deliverables as well. Fundamentally, 3 times co-design is how I usually put it. Between students, between teachers, and between university and companies. When we can bring in people from different backgrounds, we can also create different type of understanding of the issues, and we can utilize this in co-designing solutions. Students work with teams, and we have people from different fields. This year we have people from different design areas, but then also chemistry, food science, business. So we can work together, put together teams that somehow are able to work with different challenges. We do follow processes such as double diamond to find out different ways of finding what is relevant for the cases. And we have worked with even new technologies such as augmented reality, which can create, then again, like social buzz. And that's part of the packaging experience as well. You can think of it also as an added experience through some means or medium. And as you know, augmented reality can work really, really well if it's done in a such way that there's a clever concept in behind. For instance, the 19 Crimes was really interesting, with 153 million hits, I think, in the social media when they created wine bottle labels that could be sort of scanned. This didn't go that far, but we had quite nice examples of recipes and brand stories and things like that in the student project as well. We also work with unboxing experiences. The rise of e-commerce has changed how packaging buy and consume products. And yesterday I checked, there was 130 million videos on Google with hit unboxing experience. So it's actually something that people get really excited about as well. Can we work with this aspect in the design? Last year we worked with Fiskars Niittala, for instance, in the course to create such experiences, and it should be something that doesn't get lost in the mail, but then again can provide some kind of unique experience. There can be solutions that replace bubble wrap. There can be solutions that enhance the brand colors, the brand experience. The rigidity of the box can make it more functional in the mailing systems, and also clever ways of protecting fragile products. We can also think about layered experiences in gift boxing for e-commerce, and really thinking about the whole sustainable concept. It starts with a process where we start with ideation and through different stages can create different things. We can also think about how can we influence consumer behavior. Can we make somehow these products appealing to consumers that are sort of second grade vegetables? And we work with carrots and cucumbers, tomatoes, and potatoes to create true humor and sort of characterization information campaign and a way of packing those and trying to persuade consumers to buy also those things that would otherwise go to waste. Sometimes we can work with intelligent packaging that can somehow preserve the product longer, have an active component in it. Sometimes we work with creating identities that is part of the consumer experience as well. How can you recognize in a busy environment in a few seconds what kind of spices, what kind of flavors, is it grounded or is it whole? All these things. Or surprising opening experiences, something that isn't expected. So there's a few different tools that we can use for tackling packaging experience. We can think of the multisensory concept mapping as one, experience goals and experience briefs as a driving force for the design, experience narratives, different interaction steps. And I will jump over a few slides just to save some time, but basically this is some chart that is work of mine as well. In my opinion, good packaging experience really consists both of pragmatic quality and hedonic quality. So there's needs to be the technical quality and the ergonomic quality and communicative quality there in order for the packaging to work. But then again, there needs to be this hedonic thing, this wow factor, stimulation, identification, appeal that attracts us to the products, makes it pleasant in order for the packaging to stand the test of time. So my takeaways would be understanding of the user and context of use is imperative for any experience design. Packaging experience consists of a set of separate interactions with the packaging. Visuality sets the expectations and is decisive for any further sensory exploration or interactions. An absence of negative experience is not a positive experience. And aiming for hedonic experience and value with the packaging design makes sense. And then again, also the hedonic aspect is something that people are willing to pay more for the product. Thank you.